A Family's Tribute, the Ludella Boles Taylor story. The year was 1912. Wilfred Boles and Luella Hunt were having their first child, a daughter they named Ludella, but whom would later be affectionately referred to as Maud by her children. Being of a mixed racial lineage, Maud had striking features usually not seen on a black girl. Her sharp, piercing eyes, fair-colored skin, softly waved hair, and fierce cheekbones usually left most folks wondering if she was mixed with an Indian. Among other relatives, she was the great-granddaughter of Dr. William Felix McFarland, a wealthy slave owner who hailed from the Scottish Highlands. Her great-grandmother was Lydia McFarland, a mulatto slave of Dr. William Felix McFarland. Her grandmother, Dora McFarland, the daughter of slave owner McFarland, was also mixed with Scottish and the mulatto cultures from her mother. Dora McFarland is described by her descendants as having blue eyes and very fair skin. Maud was born out of wedlock and raised on the rural southern farmlands of Tipton County, Tennessee. She was raised primarily by her mother, Luella Hunt, with the help of her mother, Smith Ann Taylor Hunt. Her mother married Edward Harper in 1919 when Maud was 7 years old. From that marriage, 4 more children were born, all rambunctious boys: James, Clark, Sherman, and Troy Harper. Maud's father, Wilfred, was killed in a horse racing accident when she was 9 years old. Wilfred and Luella had never married. 2 years after her birth, Maud's father married Georgia Burchett, and he fathered 2 more children before his death, Jack and Alice. In 1927, Maud was 15 years old and living with her family in District 9, including her uncle Bob Hunt, grandmother Smith Ann Hunt, mother Luella Hunt, Aunt Pearl Hunt, and her cousins George, Willie, and Annie B. Harper on a farm where they were sharecroppers. It was on this farm that she met the man who would later be her husband and the father of her children, Matthew Taylor. While Matthew's parents and siblings were living in a house in District 15, he was 16 years old and living with Johnny and Mattie B. Fields over in part of District 1. Both he and Maud's family were sharecropping on the same farm. There was an instant attraction. After less than a year of courting, Matthew asked for Maud's hand in marriage, and she obliged. They were married on the porch of Mr. Beverly Belf Kitt and Odell Fields, where both Matthew's brothers, Early and Henderson, were boarders in District 1, next door to Johnny and Mattie B. Fields. Countless family members, neighbors, and friends attended the garden ceremony. It was 1928, and Maud was 16. Within that same year, the newlyweds moved into Matthew's parents' house and bore their first child, a son they named James Willie. After 3 years, the young family moved to their own modest home once Matthew's father passed away in 1931. They moved to District 1, next door to the Fields, with their son James Willie and Maud's 9-year-old brother, Claude Harper. The subsequent years would find Maud and Matthew becoming the proud parents of a total of 14 children: James, Margaret, Alice, John, Lubertha, Matthew Jr., Mamie D., James Arthur, Martha, Australia, Charles, Rebecca, L.C., and Daniel. With all of those screaming mouths to feed and limited resources, Maud was forced to get a bit creative. For her daughters, Maud lovingly sewed dresses from the cloth of colorful flour sacks. For her sons, Maud restitched pants from the legs of their father's old slacks. Maud was a kind-hearted mother who very much doted on her children. Come dinner time, she always chose to let them eat before she'd had her share. They were fond of sharing secrets, telling stories, or just gleefully chasing each other around. Her commitment to them was so lovingly profound that if one child was sick, the entire group would stay home from church that Sunday. Maud also raised her children in the church. Each child sang in the choir at both Hopewell and Canaan Grove Baptist churches in Mason. During the following years, as the family matured, Matthew and Maud began to grow apart. Matthew's hot temper and love of alcohol was beginning to drive a wedge between the two, and Maud was beginning to grow dissatisfied with her husband. They decided to separate, with Maud moving in with her paternal grandmother Dora while she sorted things out with Matthew. The separation was only temporary, however, as Maud had a steely resolve to see her marriage through. She moved back in, and she and Matthew made changes for the better. The lasting tenacity of both parents saw their children raised into adults. In 1980, Matthew passed away from complications from a stroke. Maud had a wonderful sense of humor. After Matthew's death, she would call her monthly Social Security check her husband and would travel coast to coast visiting her 14 children and their children. She enjoyed laughing and making others smile, as was witnessed by the seniors who rode to town with her on the senior bus. As she would board the bus for town and announce with a smile, "I'm not too fond of being on the bus with old folks," they would laugh, for she was the oldest one on the bus. Maud's prayer to the Lord was always, "Let my last years be my best years," and the Lord granted her that request. In 2011, Maud passed away from old age. She was 99 years old. Maud left an impressive, lasting legacy, as her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren are spread across the globe from Hawaii to Switzerland. To date, Maud has 11 children, 48 grandchildren, and counting. Maud was known to have lived her life by the philosophy of always trusting in God. We, her living descendants, try to live our lives as fruitfully and vibrantly as the example she left us, with lasting dignity and always trusting in God.